You're going to turn our Iowa contingent against me. I actually had somebody comment to me yesterday that said, if anything, I give Iowa a pass, and I'm very good to Iowa, considering a lot of the things that I could take shots at.
You
I
make
actually
fun
had
of
somebody call and tell me that.
You just make fun. You make fun of Iowa.
I do not make fun of
You
Iowa.
make fun of Iowa
I have
all the
great
time,
respect for Iowa football.
and you make fun of them.
I make fun of this ridiculous offense and that
I
it
know.
just continues on and on and on and on.
I know.
I'm not made that. That's not a knock at the fan base, the institution. That's a knock on Kirk Ferentz and his son, and I guess Gary Barta, but he's gone, and now
You can't blame Beth
the
Getz
new
for
athletic
this.
director. No, I can't. No,
So,
but
yeah, that's all. That's fair.
But if Indiana's firing their offensive coordinator and they're performing better on offense, and they should have lower expectations than Iowa, should they not?
Did you see my response?
No.
Do you? Okay, so I simply made a comment. I said, big difference with what you're talking about, because well, really, there's no B. The big problem with your premise there is Tom Allen's on the hot seat. Kirk Ferentz is nowhere near the hot seat. So obviously head coaches are going to act with a level of urgency when their own jobs are at stake. If Kirk Ferentz's job was legitimately at stake, which would be basically in a different reality, we can't even imagine that situation given his record and how long he's been here. We wouldn't be in this situation, is what I'm saying. You can't expect, you can't anticipate Iowa's Kirk Ferentz is going to make a move like that, given his job security. That's all I'm saying. Whether he should or he shouldn't. We had this conversation last year. Rutgers did the same thing. There were programs across the country that had better offenses than Iowa and made changes. But in most cases, those head coaches were feeling heat. And rightfully so. And the other difference is Indiana's not winning games. Iowa's winning games. Right? Rutgers was not winning games. UMass was not winning games. Like these programs that were having awful offensive performances, they were losing. Iowa's an exception because they find ways to win games in spite of the offense. So that's what makes this.
Man, you're sounding like Kirk now. You're usually on here on the side of the evaluation should be about the offense and not the total product.
I'm saying what gives Kirk the power to double down and to not make changes is the win column. I mean, that's what he's banked himself on. That's what his bread and butter is. We won 8 games.
It should empower him to do what's going to be best for the program.
It could go either way, right? He has a choice because of the fan base and the loyalty and his tenure here. He can either use that to empower him to make changes to achieve greatness, or he can he can use that to continue in this cycle of offense, and that's what he's chosen to do to this point.
No, there's a lot of things I think nationally from people in other parts of the country that make fun of not just Iowa, all sorts of different football programs from different locales that I don't take part in because I don't believe in them. But this is a different deal. This could be going on anywhere. And I would be poking.
For the record, I did not watch the segment, but somebody told me that I guess Pat McAfee and his team made fun of Iowa here recently in the Iowa offense. So it's still like, you're right about one thing. The Iowa offense has not looked as good as I thought it would look. I mean, I thought just based on the upgraded quarterback, the numbers would be better. But we didn't anticipate Cade being hampered. What I have accepted now that Cade's done, there's no chance he gets better. Cade's done for the year. Now that that's a total realization, I have reason to believe that every game from here on out is going to be close. Like I don't anticipate the Iowa offensive numbers get much of any better. Maybe they get slightly better, but we're going to be looking at an offense that's 115 plus in total offense at the end of the year. Yeah, and they're down there in a lot of categories. Just for the record, are they last in the FBS right now in total offense, Mark?
I don't know. Somebody needs to inform Brian that there are no other places to drop to. That's pretty much it.
They did no favors, with that 25 points a game thing. That just made that a national laughing stock.
Yes,
that drives 25.
And that came from Gary Barta, correct?
That came from Gary Barta.
Why
Yes.
did Kirk not step in and say, no, we're not announcing this. This is not.
I believe, based on what I've been told, it was actually the Brian Kirk side that wanted it public because there was very little faith in Gary Barta to abide by those stipulations. So that's what I've been told from behind closed doors, even though it's a stupid, I think it's a stupid criteria. I agree with both of you. I think they wanted it public so that Gary Barta would have to be held to his expectations were, which were erroneous regardless of how you look at it. By the way, I've just pulled it up here. Iowa right now is 130th out of 130 teams in the FBS in total offense. And here's what's crazy. It's not even close. We said that. We said it last year. But Mark, again, listen to the other team. This is exactly the conversation we had a year ago. Listen to the other teams that are down there. Eastern Michigan, Kent State, Nevada. Utah's an exception. What's Utah's record right now?
4-1.
Okay, so they're an exception.
Utah's down there?
They're they are 126th in the country in total.
They are playing with a third string quarterback. They're third string quarterback. They are playing with a third string quarterback.
Iowa's playing with Wisconsin's third string quarterback from last year.
Yeah, now they are.
Well, the first 4 weeks they were playing. They were playing with a
slightly injured quarterback. Okay.
Slightly injured?
Injured to some degree. He was able to play.
Probably should have been.
We'll get back to big time boiler. You may want to look at the Utah schedule though, too. So there's a difference there. UCLA, Florida.
In general, most of those teams that are down near Iowa have bad records.
Yeah.
Iowa's 4-1 with the worst total offensive numbers in the country. So that's just what Iowa does.
Anything else for Grant?
I was just saying, I do have some good positive news for you Iowa fans. Purdue has this curse of playing backup quarterbacks. Whenever they get their first full start, they look like Heisman candidates. Going back, I remember the early 2000s was when Notre Dame rolled out some guy named like Garrett Godson or something like that. It was a tight end that started quarterback and just lit up Purdue. And even Rocky Lombardi from Michigan State. There's another name that looked like a Heisman player when Purdue played him. So there's others. So I wouldn't be surprised if Deacon Hill looks amazing tomorrow, Saturday, just based off of Purdue history.
By the way, I don't know, South Bend Hawkeye in the chat, appreciate his comment. Deacon Hill was not a 4-star coming out of high school. I don't even know what he had. Let me find his recruiting page just so we can. By the way, I'll be posting. I had a conversation with Deacon Hill's high school coach back in, I think it was January on a live show, and never really promoted it or anything like that because it was, we're talking about the backup quarterback, but it was an insightful conversation. I'm going to be reposting that this evening, kind of give Iowa fans an idea of this kid's background and just his skill set. He does have a big arm for anybody that didn't watch. If you're a Purdue fan watching this show,
can he run? Because Purdue's really struggled against quarterbacks that actually can run this year. Like really struggled mightily.
Let's just say he's 6'3", 260 pounds, Grant.
Okay. I mean, Garrett Schrader's a big boy. He ran all over Purdue.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be seeing any QB draws from Deacon Hill. Now,
that's advantage Purdue.
He's more mobile than an injured Cade McNamara. And I think that's how a lot of Iowa fans are approaching this. He's more mobile than what Cade was with the quad injury. Rivals had Deacon Hill coming out of high school as, where's their star rating? 3-star. And On3 had him as, On3 wasn't even around back then. Industry rating for On3, 3-star. Yeah, I don't think he was a 4-star by anybody. I'd be shocked. 247 had him as a 3-star as well. Oh, I'm sorry. 247 had him as a 4-star. 247 has everybody as a 4-star. How many 4-stars do they hand out every year?
Quite a few.
So
about 450.
He was the 680th.
Oh,
no, I'm sorry. That was his transfer rating. Let me grab his overall in the class of 2021. Deacon Hill was considered, according to the 247 Sports Composite, the 493rd best player in the country, 39th best player in that class.
Was any read option run against Michigan State?
No.
Okay, because that's been Purdue's Achilles heel, and I'd be curious if Brian Ferentz reads any tape or watches any tape, if they pull that out, Purdue might struggle because they
I would
would not stop the read option.
I would love to be able to come on here, Grant, and have you every year and say, better watch out for this, better watch out for that. And Mark, you and I would love to be able to talk about the different things you might be able, the wrinkles you throw. Like, hey, in an ideal world, and even Kirk said they've talked about it today, in an ideal world, Grant, maybe Cooper DeJean takes some Wildcat snaps. He played quarterback in high school. He's the fastest guy in the team. He's an incredible playmaker, but that's not how Iowa thinks. And Kirk brought that up today. They're more concerned with limiting the number of snaps for one of their best defensive players and not putting him in harm's way because he's already getting all these snaps on defense, on special teams. To his point, they have been, and I don't know the stats to back this up, but they have been one of the worst teams in the country, maybe the worst. I bet you the defense, Mark, in 5 games has been on the field for more snaps than any other FBS team in the country. That would be a stat. I'd love to be able to find that stat. They were on the field 97 snaps against Penn State a couple weeks ago. And even like back at the Iowa State game, they got killed in time of possession and in total snaps. The defense has been on the field the whole game. So it is a fair point that Cooper DeJean's already on the field a lot, and he's on the field for every punt return of the game. So, but, I don't think anybody's asking for Iowa to throw, 10, 20 plays for Cooper DeJean during a game, but you have a package ready. Iowa has run Wildcat in past seasons. I would love to be able to talk to Brian. If we get media availability with Brian one of these Wednesdays, I'm going to ask him what happened to the Wildcat offense. Not that it was great or dynamic, but they ran a lot of it in 2020, and then it totally disappeared. It's kind of like the special teams trick plays from 17, 18, and 19. Totally disappeared. We haven't seen them again.
College football stats, 8 teams have been on the field defensively more than Iowa for more plays. Only 8.
Who are the 8 teams? Can you run through them real quick? How'd you find that so fast?
CFB stats. Notre Dame, who's played one more game, so forget them. So they're out. Ole Miss, Old Dominion, Florida International, which I believe played a
gauntlet.
No, okay. 2 of these teams, 3 of these teams have played 6 games. So forget them. Forget Notre Dame, Vandy, and San Diego State. The others are Ole Miss, Old Dominion, FIU, Texas State.
Well, Texas State beat Baylor. What's going on with Ole Miss?
They won 64-50. What was the score?
Well, so they're scoring a lot of. See, that might be a little bit
fast. Yeah.
So they're scoring a lot of points, so that's why their offense isn't on the field. They're having big plays down the field. At Iowa, it's because you're going 3 and out. But that's a fair. That's a fair point, I guess. But so second among all Power 5, second worst among all Power 5 schools in most number of snaps in the first 5 games.
They've also played a pretty rough schedule thus far. Tulane, Alabama, LSU, Georgia Tech.
Yeah. And by the way, Cooper DeJean, the idea of him running him in a Wildcat package. I mean, you could even speculate on the idea of Iowa. You brought up maybe Purdue's struggles with defending a mobile quarterback. Joe Labus did start and play the entirety of the Kentucky Music City Bowl last year. So, he's the backup now. He's 1 snap away. I think it's pretty clear Iowa doesn't have a whole lot of confidence in him. And regardless of the lip service from the coaching staff and from Kirk, I don't think they have a lot of confidence in Joe Labus. There's a reason why a first-year guy in Deacon Hill leapfrogged him during spring practice. But if they want to get dicey and they want to confuse things and maybe throw in a wrinkle, maybe you bring in Joe Labus for some QB draw stuff if you feel like he can protect the football, because he is mobile. He is more of a dual threat, much more of a dual threat than Deacon is. So that's there's so many things that I'm no offensive guru, no offensive coach, Mark, but if I had any say in what happened on game day, I'd be saying, hey, let's experiment with this. Let's experiment with that. That's just not how Iowa operates, as we all know.